Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this. Well, it's me. Jason will be here in just a minute. He's wrapping up with some customers, but he'll be joining us shortly. It is Thursday. One more day till Friday. The year of chaos just continues to go on. Have you seen the latest with the shooting of the CEO of United Healthcare? Apparently, this was definitely planned. The would-be, well, not would-be, I mean, he assassinated the guy, for lack of a better term, still on the loose, but had written a message on the bullet casings to, well, I guess let you know that what this was all about. So this does appear to be job-related. In other words, somebody may be unhappy with the health care in this country, but we'll see, wait and have to see more on that. It's kind of surprising that they haven't been able to apprehend the suspect yet. And then how about in the Congo? Have you heard this? A new disease now? This one apparently kills the kids, right? Remember, like COVID mostly killed, the old people. Now we got one that apparently is killing the teenagers. I know there's been a few times in my life I wanted to kill my kids when they were teenagers. But, yeah, I'm sure, don't worry. I am absolutely positive. By the way, wink, wink, nod, nod for those of you that are listening, that it wasn't anything any of these secret labs were doing. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And by the way, now, have you seen the latest? They're now talking about maybe pardons for a whole bunch of people that, that may be in the crosshairs of Donald Trump, Anthony Fauci being one, Liz Cheney, a bunch of others. Yeah. Why would Anthony Fauci, if he did nothing wrong, why would he have to be pardoned? I wonder what the real story is. Well, anyway, 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Of course, the delivery of wealth insurance, gold and silver, it's what we do. AllAmericanGold.com is the website, and like every other day, so many things to talk about. We did have jobless claims today. They were higher, but still, 224,000. Not so bad, really, when you think about it. And continuing claims actually fell. Got back below 1.9 million. So I don't, not a lot on the, everyone's trying to figure out, are they going to cut rates again in December? We did hear from Jay Powell yesterday. He didn't give any hints as to what was going to happen, but he did talk about the dollar, Bitcoin, and gold. Kind of interesting. Said that Bitcoin is not a competitor to the dollar, kind of saying, "Hey, don't worry, they're not gonna use it to buy stuff." Right? And I guess you can. There are some places that take it, not very many, but said it's more of a competitor to gold. That's what Jay Powell said yesterday. Of course, Bitcoin broke 100,000, right? We've been waiting for that. But I think it really spoke volumes because it really doesn't compete. We have some of our customers that do both, Bitcoin and gold. Not that many, but it's probably a very small amount because they're really not very similar at all, but I think it was interesting. What caught my attention on it all, because you can go back and forth on all this, was Jason, he kind of matter of fact said, yeah, no, it's not going to be used as money. I mean, I think that was really the takeaway from Jay Powell yesterday when he talked about Bitcoin, the dollar, and gold?
I think it's his Ben Bernanke moment I saw. What I heard he say that he exactly said was, Bitcoin is a speculative asset just like gold. Yep. He's saying gold is a speculative asset. He didn't even call it a commodity like Ben Bernanke. It's an asset. It's a commodity. He didn't even go that far. He was comparing Bitcoin and Bitcoin is a speculative asset. I mean, the IRS and the SEC have declared Bitcoin essentially a stock. It's an equity. So, and I agree with that. It just doesn't have a real company behind it. So it is a little more speculative. But gold is not speculative. Gold is a commodity. And I guess you could speculate what's going to happen to gold. But we have a long history of a cow and an ounce of gold being about the same price. It's kind of boring, actually. If you think about it, Joe, it's actually boring once you get it. And boring creates calm customers. We have the calmest, most comfortable customers that walk through our doors because gold is boring, because it doesn't have this road where it goes up $10,000 in a day and then drops $10,000 in a day, which is what Bitcoin potentially does.
Well, I'm going to say this when we get back, because we're coming up on the break, because it was interesting, because what are the other central banks thinking then? By the way, we had a pullback in gold, right? And what did the central banks do during that pullback? Yeah. Maybe set a record in gold purchases. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Thursday. A quick look at the markets. The Dow's down 115. The S&P's down 6. The Nasdaq's down 10. The 10-year note kind of sitting here, 421. Pretty quiet this week as all the other nations are having their issues. France, yep, they're another new government coming to France. A vote of no confidence. What? Is that the second time in less than a year now? All of it budget really. Don't kid yourself of what is really happening in these countries. Now South Korea, right? Remember, they had maybe the shortest martial law in history. Their president may be on the way out the door as well. Crude oil just below $69 today. Gold's off a little bit, not a lot, but down about $6 right now. 26.43. Silver's down 10 cents right now, but again, as we and by the way, just update on crypto, 101,700 right now on crypto. Well, not really crypto, Bitcoin, obviously.
Bitcoin,
so, yeah. That would be clear. Bitcoin, there's hundreds of them, but Bitcoin is the one that everyone talks about. Remember to be diversified. 56 straight, well, not straight, but 56 all-time highs on the S&P. These are, the bubble euphoric times. We keep talking about debt. Boy, the United States, we're just piling it on now, right? We just broke 36, and I was like, oh my God, we're at 36. No, we just 36. We just added 200 billion now. I mean, we just added 100, but now another 100. It's crazy how fast this thing goes. But when you start to see the political unrest, and really we have it everywhere. I mean, let's face it. Politically here, it's been tough. It's been tough all over the place, and the answer really has to do with debt and money and governments trying to figure out how are we going to pay for all these things. And don't get caught here. Be smart. Learn the lessons of the past. funny how people get sucked in, right? They get sucked in over and over and over again. We know what they do. We didn't pick it. They picked it. They decided to go for boom and bust. That's what they decided. Because remember, the reason why did we want a central bank? Well, you know what? I don't know that the citizenry ever really wanted a central bank. If they really understood it, they'd have been like, no, we don't want that. Why would we want that? But the whole thing was they wanted to create debt. That's what they wanted. Hey, we don't have to go through a bad time. When there's a bad time, we'll just print a bunch of money. We'll do that Adam Sandler movie, Big Daddy, right? He gets the kid, and the kid, he's young, and he wets the bed. And what does Adam Sandler do? He just puts some newspaper down, right? The kid spills the milk, puts some newspaper down. The kid throws up. I'm just going to cover it up with pretending like it didn't happen. That's kind of like the Fed. That's kind of what that's what they, and our government. Let's just print money. Oh, bad time, let's print money. Now, the problem was they were supposed to, when times were good, pay back that money they printed. Right? Take it away, right? Let's take it out of the system. Because they knew if you don't, well, then the currency just goes to crap. You get inflation. And it never seems to stop. That's where we're at. Think about it right now. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say, oh my gosh, the economy's horrible. Right? Would anybody say that right now? It's not horrible. I mean, maybe if you're, I don't know, a realtor or a mortgage broker, or you sell, I don't know, commercial office space, then maybe it does suck for you. Right? But by and large, it's okay. Right? Pretty good. It's not terrible. Then why are we borrowing $2 trillion? See, that's the problem. This is why you need to be diversified like never before. Learn the lesson. These are the same warning signs that we had before the housing and financial crisis. I was doing radio. Listen, it was all the same. Dow and S&P were hitting records, right? Everybody was like, don't worry. And we were printing money like crazy. Yeah, we just got to borrow, because, well, we had the housing thing, and then, we, got the war, right? Iraq, Afghanistan. Oh, wait, now we got a financial crisis. Let's just print all this money, right? Lay down the newspaper, and you get all of these bust. And that's where we're going again. My question's going to be, how much of your wealth, your hard-earned money, did you set aside to save you from getting clobbered by the event that everybody and their mother knows is coming? That's really it. That's all we're talking about here. Right? You need to take some of that and get it into gold and silver. You know that. Everybody listening knows it. It's still to this day. I'm thinking about when I first started here. All my buddies were like, you're going to do what? Gold. They didn't even sell gold. Why would you do that? Who wants gold? Right? Gold was like $300. And then by the time the financial crisis was over, and of course, you guys remember, I used to talk about, about Eric all the time. I'm like, God, great guy. I love the guy. We laugh. We have a great time. We drink some beers. We play some golf. I tell him, man, your uncle is whack. He's got the tinfoil helmet on, right? If we live in Arizona, if we had a basement, he'd be in the basement, right, with his helmet on. Man, how different is it now? How different is it now? It's just over Thanksgiving. One of our friends had a big get together. Friendsgiving type event. They're all going, hey, what's up with gold? How's gold doing? What's silver? What do you think, right? What's going on? When's the next bus coming? We went from the dumbest guys in the room, Jason, to the smartest guys in the room.
Maybe not as much changed as you think. Maybe people just got poorer and they started figuring out that gold is a safe place to go. I was watching a vid yesterday on YouTube, and this guy, he's kind of our level of understanding of things, and he's kind of indifferent about Trump. He's like, he just doesn't see that Trump has much of a difference as to what's going to happen, kind of what you've been saying when it comes to economics. But what he pointed out on this video was really interesting, because these are things we know, but until you actually say it and think about it, it doesn't impact you. And he said, well, look, when there's regime change in America, a new president, there are so many examples of the next year something goes wrong. And so here's some of the examples. Let's listen to some of these. These are just off the top of my head. Woodrow Wilson's, you're elected in an even year, but you're inaugurated in the odd year in January the next year, right? Woodrow Wilson elected 1912. 1913, here comes the federal income tax and the Federal Reserve. FDR. Well, FDR was elected in 1932. The Depression had started. Yeah, but he bankrupted the nation, and he took gold out of commission, led us towards World War II. What about George Bush Jr., elected in 2000? What happened after it was inaugurated in January of 2001? A few months later, 9/11. Right, Joe? These things happen over and over and over. I mean, Barack Obama was elected when the markets were crashing, right? But in 2009, he's inaugurated, and quantitative easing just went into full force, right, Joe? So I was thinking 2026 is when some crazy stuff was going to happen. But listening to this guy talk about how regime change after regime change throughout American history, Abraham Lincoln elected 1860. He was inaugurated in 1861, and here comes the Civil War right on his coattails. And Joe, maybe 2026. I was thinking that we might have to wait. We might have things kind of in limbo for a while, and maybe a bunch of printing of money will kind of subside things for a little bit. But Joe, you might want to buy gold now, and you might want to buy it before Trump is inaugurated, because we don't know what. I mean, look at the stuff that's going on. North Korea has troops. Where is it? Crimea, right? The 12,000 North Korean troops in Russia are sitting next to Crimea, as there's going to be some negotiation to possibly end the Ukraine war. And why does it seem like North Korea suddenly has been given a green light to maybe cause trouble in their neck of the woods, and maybe they've got cover from China and Russia now? Any horrible event can happen, and then you're going to be sitting there thinking, well, I was going to order some gold after I got my tax returns next year. Okay, but it might be $300 or $400 more an ounce by then. So I went from thinking 2026 might be when things really go crazy. Now it's like, well, you can't really predict the timing. You can never predict the timing. You can only predict that it's going to happen. It's par for the course ever since we have a new government with the Federal Reserve in charge of printing the money, Joe. And so I think 2025 could be. Star Wars. Star Wars is a great movie. 1977. Everyone loved it. But everybody went crazy in The Empire Strikes Back. In 1980, that movie came out. Everybody thought that was the best of the series. And what happened? Han Solo got frozen in a block of ice, and Luke got his hand cut off, and Darth Vader, kind of sailed off into the sunset of that movie. So I think we might be looking at The Empire Strikes Back next year, Joe.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, and we've been telling you for a while. Nothing wrong with being diverse. The thing about being diversified, you got to do it before it happens.
Yep.
right? You got to do it before it happens. Get your gold, get your silver put away. Gold and silver's on sale right now, and I mean big sales. Check out our friends over at Y Refi, up to 10.25 fixed rate of return. Why do we like it? Because it's not correlated to the stock market, right? I don't know what's going to happen. Is the Dow going to 50,000? Maybe. Is it going back to 30 or 20,000? Maybe, right? I mean, maybe. Is it just going to sit here? I don't know. I will say this, over the next 5 years, I don't see a path. I really don't, where this bubble doesn't come crashing down. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. Just call them 888-YRefi24, 888-973-3924. But Jason, last month, October, we had the pullback in gold, and central banks snapped it up. The biggest month of gold buying for the year, as once again, the speculative asset. By the way, maybe Jay Powell needs to check some facts. We're going to talk about that next. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Thursday. Today, I have AU $20 St. Gaudens. AU is almost uncirculated. Now, I have our regular Liberties and Saints on sale right now for $2,745. Today and today only, you can get AU Saints $2,740. So $5, and they're already on sale. So you're going to go up some grades and pay a little less today, $2,740 for AU Saints. And people like to say, I guess, remember why we got the Saints. Right? Teddy Roosevelt didn't think the Liberty coin, which is the side profile of Lady Liberty's face, didn't think it was majestic enough. Didn't look good enough. When he was looking at, like, the French francs or the British sovereigns or what, he's like, those coins look better. And we're the superpower. We need a new coin. And of course, the St. Gaudens, he was the artist that got hired to design it. He ended up dying right as it was getting released, so they named it after him. That's why it's called the St. Gaudens. But it's that full-bodied Lady Liberty. It's the design of the Silver Eagle. If you have a Silver Eagle, that came from the St. Gaudens. $20 gold piece. Right up until they confiscated gold. And, of course, AU means almost uncirculated. These things they're just super nice. A lot of these probably could get graded, but the cost of grading them right now isn't worth it. And you got to pay $25, $30 to get it graded, and if it only grades at a Mint State 60 or a Mint State 61, well, you're going to lose money because the difference between the two is only like $15. Boy, today, save a bundle. AU Saints, $2,740. By the way, Container Store, look out. Looks like they're headed for bankruptcy probably right after the holidays. Chipotle today announced another price increase. So, yeah, the one thing I guess Jay Powell did say, too, yesterday, well, I guess inflation, it's a little higher than we wanted. Yeah, believe me, it hasn't stopped. But I want to go back because obviously Jay Powell needs a lesson. I'm going to read you the exact quote here. This was yesterday when he was at a New York Times summit. People use Bitcoin as a speculative asset. It's just like gold, only it's virtual. It's digital. People are not using it as a form of payment or a store of value. It's highly volatile. It's not a competitor for the dollar. It's really a competitor for gold. Well, interesting, because I love Bitcoin. As you guys know, I think they've corrupted it and ruined it, but you guys can be the judge. All of you that think Bitcoin's going to 1 million, what does that put gold at? Right? Where do you think gold's going to be, right? But let me point out some differences, because he says Bitcoin's a speculative asset. So let's see. Is gold a speculative asset? Like Jay Powell tried to say. Now, he didn't quite say it, did he? He didn't quite say, because he said people use Bitcoin as a speculative asset. And then the next sentence, it's just like gold, only virtual, digital, right? But trying to leave that in there. Well, let me tell you what the world banking system thinks of gold. When it comes to gold, the banking system says gold is a tier 1 asset. Well, what does that mean, tier 1 asset? That means it is the highest quality asset that any financial institution can hold, period. Do you know when they made that change? They made that change after the financial crisis, by the way, because it didn't used to be a tier 1 asset. But see, that's what gold's proven. So when he says Bitcoin is speculative and then tries to say gold is speculative, the banking community doesn't think it's speculative. Matter of fact, look at what central banks are doing. We've got record gold buying. Now, he says that people don't use Bitcoin as a store of value. Isn't that why people buy gold? Right? It's a store of value. In other words, as Jason said, gold's got a, thousands of year history of buying a cow. Right? Doesn't matter how much the cow cost. Right? In 1913, when they created the central bank, you could buy a heifer for $20. Or a $20 Liberty, or a $20 St. Gaudens. Fast forward to today, right? Everyone knows how expensive beef is. Guess what? You can still buy the cow for a $20 gold piece. Problem is, now the gold piece is $2,740 on sale. So it is interesting, the comments that he made. The biggest takeaway for me was he's like, it doesn't compete against another. We don't view that as competition. We view that, as he calls it, a speculative, virtual, digital. I don't even know if he said speculative asset, so I guess he claimed it as that. But Jason, the funny part is this is the thing that most people don't realize. That is true for Bitcoin. It is. Completely a false, really a lie when saying gold in there. Of course, he again, that's what he wants it to be, right? He doesn't want people to think of it the way the bank, it's funny because his own industry is the one that tells you that gold's a tier 1 asset, but they don't want people to know it, do they? Think about it. Oh, by the way, Russia now banning the export of gold, silver, copper, scrap, recycle. Uh-oh. Another commodity run coming. 800-951-0592. AU $20 Liberties, $2,740. It's $100 over. What a great time to buy. By the way, if you're new, man, I haven't bought. I want to. I'm nervous. I don't know that much. Just call. Call. Tell the girls, hey, I want the special. Tell them if you need to. Say, hey, can you give me a quick history lesson? We'll do it for you. We'll walk you through. We'll answer all your questions. What if I don't buy today? Well, you're going to start calling me all the time and bothering me? And no, we don't call anybody unless you told us to. I mean, obviously, some people say, "Hey, call me when you ship." Of course, we email. We ship everything FedEx. By the way, you get emailed your tracking, all that stuff. But yeah, it's no pressure. What we want is for you to be safe in what you're doing and not overpay and stay private. You know, those things are important. When you buy, sell, or trade, not have to worry about 1099s and showing ID and giving us all your information. Yeah, the laws are written the way they're written for a reason. Call us, 800-951-0592. By the way, Silver Eagle still on sale, $750 a roll on U.S. Silver Eagles. But news out of Russia, they are now banning the exports of precious metals waste, and scrap, and saying this will follow China's long-standing practice. Right? We talk about this. China does not export any of its gold and silver. It doesn't. And now Russia is saying, hey, you know what? We're going to do the same thing. And Jason, again, this is just going to put more pressure on the supply and demand. Of course, Russia, they made the announcement, about a month ago? They want to have a silver reserve. They want to have a copper reserve. Remember, we used to have those things. We got rid of them. We don't have those anymore. But, again, I think this is just another one when we start looking at what's gold going to do next year, the year after that. Just look at what China, India, and Russia just by themselves are doing, and it's a very clear picture that the supply is going to continue to be constrained and demand is continuing unabated. I mean, there's only one way for these things to go.
Yeah, and the BRICS, right? The BRICS. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to jump in the last segment about Bitcoin. Jerome Powell and Donald Trump, for as much as it looks like Donald Trump may replace him, and there's maybe so-called a little bit of feuding between the two, they're speaking the exact same language. If Jerome Powell says that Bitcoin's a speculative asset, right, well, Donald Trump's going to bring it in and have a strategic Bitcoin holding. What is going on here? Well, what else did Trump say? Well, if there is a competing currency against the dollar from the BRICS, I'm going to put a 100% tariff on it. So when Jerome Powell said that it's not currency, it's a speculative asset, and Trump's buying it as sort of a speculative holding for the U.S. government, and any actual threat to the dollar, which is a BRICS currency, was just mentioned, Trump's like, I'm going to step all over that. They're speaking the same language. Bitcoin is, and especially watching it since Thanksgiving, really is. I didn't really want to say it out loud, before. But it's fake gold. I think that's exactly what it was designed for. I think why do you create something that is off in the internet space? And then when people have to look at it, when they talk about it, it's got a big B on a gold coin. I think it's absolutely an attempt to control gold price with whatever storm is getting ready to hit us, Joe. What economic storm are we heading for that they've created this fake Bitcoin with the economic mess that happened in 2008, where some people thought the end of the economic world was going to happen? They printed to oblivion and got the world feeling safe again. And then Bitcoin just popped up its ugly head in 2009 magically. And the picture of Bitcoin is a big B on a gold coin. Just like everything else is fake out there, Bitcoin I think is fake gold. And here's the thing, boy, when gold started to take a hit, it finally stopped going up this year. Bitcoin took off like a rocket ship. These ETFs on Bitcoin, they're showing that they can control this. Look at Bitcoin. It raced all the way to 99,000 and then just hit a wall. It's been sitting there for a couple of weeks. Okay, now we're just going to let it go, and we're going to let it go past 100,000 now. I have no doubt if you want to put some money in Bitcoin and make some money, go for it. Just be very careful, because I think at any time when geopolitical things are happening and we don't know what's going to blow up next, Bitcoin can crash down to nothing, or it can go all the way to the moon. By the way, most people have to use an exchange. Israel just a few months ago, with the Gaza war, shut off Coinbase because they thought Hamas was funding themselves through a bunch of exchanges of Bitcoin and other cryptos, and they just froze the Coinbase. I know that you can have Bitcoin on your own private, bank, but Joe, most people keep it on those exchanges, and the exchanges work hand in hand with the government with taxing agents, and they can freeze it at any time. So investment is risk, but physically holding gold is not risk, it's savings. The only risk you have is if your buddy shows up and steals it from you because you let him know where it's at, Joe.
Final segment coming up. We're back here, final segment, Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll probably talk about this tomorrow as well. But the Institute for Justice is issuing a warning to all Americans that their banks and the federal government secretly are spying on your money, their spending habits, their banking accounts, and so much more, with the punishment up to and including closing of those accounts if the owner strays from what the government approves, such as shopping at specific retailers, making cash deposits just under $10,000. Because once you go over $10,000, they immediately, you may not know it, but a report immediately gets sent. Immediately. The Institute explains most Americans have no idea their financial accounts are being monitored. That's by design. The same federal law that mandates this surveillance also prohibits banks from telling customers about these reports. How many times have I said this to you? Your teller's not being nosy. When you ask, hey, give me, $10,000 in cash out of my account, $5,000 in cash out of my account. Why? Are you under duress? Is there something you need? What are you going to use that for? That's a report being generated, just so you know. And man, do they close accounts way, way more than people think. Remember, we played that clip from the billionaire crypto guy who was saying, hey, you won't believe how many times that these banks close, and they don't tell you nothing other than you can't bank here anymore. Another reason why you have gold, because guess what? You can come and bring a $20 gold piece to Jason or I and get some cash until you get it sorted out. AU $20 Saints, $2,740. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles at $750 at 800-951-09 0592. And Jason, I think tomorrow we'll spend a little more time on this debanking thing because it's becoming a lot more prevalent. And the sad part is most people don't want to believe it until it's too late. You know, I keep going back to that Canadian trucker thing. They were closing people's accounts because they donated $25, right? Oh, well, that's it. Oh, how dare you? You no longer have access to your funds.
And just because there is physical cash doesn't mean the majority of the populations are using a lot of cash, so that they have that power over you if you're heavy in digital money already. I mean, we already have digital money. We already have, you know, cryptocurrency, so to speak. It's your credit card. It's just that they want to have more control than what the credit card can do. And I think cash is going to stick around. I don't think the end of cash is going to happen very soon. But they're going to make it so expensive to use cash that if you're going to use cash, you better use it in the short-term future because you're going to get taxed and feed all crazy using it in the future, Joe.